Hello and welcome to another episode of Metal Effort. Today I want to compare different categories of knives in terms of price and what you get for the cost. There's a big range here, obviously, and what is expensive to one person might not be expensive to another. So everything is in context of somebody's own budget, and it's hard to kind of get an idea on what's a quality knife in one person's definition compared to another. And so understanding that difference and kind of deciding in yourself what things are important to you will help you understand what level of quality you want to pay for. So to that end, before I get into the meat and bones of it, we gotta talk about this little guy. This is the USA designed mount etch. This is a very cheap and expensive knife, like the $5 range. I can pretty much never recommend this. I don't care how much money you have or what job you need. This is just a downright unsafe knife. Like, it doesn't even lock up most of the time. It's dangerous. Looks like garbage and it rusts, even though it says stainless. But I don't want to go down this far. You have things for inexpensive prices that are still not cheap in terms of quality. Something like Opinel, Moras for fixed blade type things. You've got the Victorinox, like Swiss Army knives. Those are cheap in terms of cost, but not cheap in terms of actual fit and finish and safety. So I will never recommend Mr. USA's mount etch designs. Instead, we're going to look at things that are at least safe. I'm going to take these guys off, and we're going to kind of go very quickly each category. What are the things that you get for this price point? And then what are the things that kind of make you want to have more? Something that might want you to push into the next price category. So first we're going to start with a $40 knife. This is the Deviation by CRKT. And the reason I slip joint open this sucker is because I have a hard time with this. This is the worst. Sorry. I'll try that. I gotta do really. There we go. Okay. You really have to put all your physical and mental effort in getting this to open on the first try. The detent's pretty weak on this, guys. I don't know if you can tell. So let's talk about the good parts of this knife, or this category of knife, which is what we're really wanting to talk about. So in this category of knife for $40-ish, give or take, $10, let's say, you get more style. This is something that looks distinctly better than your USA designs. I think for most people, obviously. So there's probably somebody in the world I could find that likes the look of this knife. Oh, yeah, that detent. Dangerous, guys, dangerous. But the point is, you have variety of options in style. You can get the look of the knife that you want, roughly speaking. You'll find a lot of homages to even the more expensive knives in this price category that give you that look. So that's cool. You get a little bit of your own personal touch in choosing a design that appeals to you. Like this knife. I like the futuristic design. It's cool. What else do you get? Well, you get more deployment options. Now this flipper tab, hey, that's 2 in a row. I have my disassembly video of this. Before I clean this out, I couldn't even do that probably maybe 10% of the time where I can get it to open on the first try. But flipper isn't the only thing. You have different options out there for, this price point, that it's not all slip joints at that $40 price. You can get, some at least options for deployment. Yeah. Anyway. And then I've already kind of mentioned this, but for $40, you should very easily expect a safe knife. Now, even though the detent on this is terrible, I can't get that blade to come out accidentally. It's not a strong enough detent to deploy the knife, but, you know, I'm probably not going to hurt myself by doing this little wet noodle deployment. I can continue to open that knife pretty safely. And for most of the time, you get, you know, pretty solid lockup on a knife of this price point. I don't want to insinuate that price alone is going to be a determining factor. You could definitely overpay for a knife. You know, if you're at a swap meet and Usa's selling his knives and you get swindled, you know, that's on you. Always check for the designer, I guess is the point of that. But, you know, CRKT is a big company. They make a lot of knives. They experiment a lot. And even though they're not the highest quality knives in the world, I would say the vast majority of the time they're safe. So that's good. Now, what is going to want to pull you out of this class of knife and put you into the next one? Well, first off, the overall fit and finish of this is not going to be anywhere close to the $160 range, $150 range, anywhere in there. The chamfering is going to be pretty sparse. And in fact, there is basically no chamfering on this knife anywhere. These are all sharp edges. When I do put in the necessary force to open that, I like run my finger on those two very sharp inside corners. Like, they're not going to take the time and effort in the design or production of this knife to chamfer a thing. That's just, you know, you got to pay for that, I guess. Chamfering fairies don't work for free. The other thing that is going to kind of leave you wanting is the steel that's used in this. The steel that's in this knife is a humble 8CR14 MOV. I would put this in the I don't want to use it category. It's probably better than our stainless China USA design knife, but not by much. Not by much at all. And I think lastly is just the general quality control. I'm sure there is a deviation out there that opens a little bit better than this flipper. I'm pretty sure that if they design this knife with a flipper and they all go like this every time you try to open them, they probably wouldn't choose to make that knife. So this got through the quality control department, if there is one. That's not cool. I don't like that. So maybe I want to get something that I know is at least going to work, something that, you know, is going to perform as advertised. If you put a flipper on a knife, I'm going to assume that you can flip it open. All right, so what do we get for that price? Well, you get stuff for like the Spyderco PM2. This knife is extremely practical. You have the things like the premium steel, like, you know, CPM crew wear is a good steel. That's good to go. But you have a huge selection of seals. You know, this isn't stainless crew wear specifically. It's more in favor of like good toughness and sharpenability and edge retention, while still not being like a rust magnet. Maybe you're working in a place or using the knife and you want that stainless, you can find other stainless options for this price point. You're gonna get usually a more practical design in the, you know, shape of the blade. This, you know, modified Tonto or sheep's foot. I don't even know what this is, but, you know, it's a very like thick behind the edge thing we got going here. This isn't going to be the best slicer. So you can find knives, there's a lot of options for blade types, obviously, and grinds, but something like the PM2, this grind is awesome. It's thick and robust, but still pretty thin behind the edge, relatively speaking, so it's still a good slicer. So premium steel, more practical blade. You also get better durability. So You know, this is a G10, smooth G10 on the crew wear. But G10 handles that are durable, they're comfortable, you know, not necessarily designed to look a certain way, but to feel a certain way and to have a certain durability to them. So I'm buying a knife, I'm making an investment, maybe this is the only knife you're gonna buy and you wanna make sure it's gonna last you a while. You know, a $160 knife like this is probably worth it. If somebody is, you know, going to Walmart to shop for a knife and they see this one for $40 and like, dang, that's expensive, then it's gonna be a hard sell on this. In which case, send your buddy the link to this video and have him watch it. There's a reason this costs $160. It's worth your money. Buy once, cry once. This knife will fail you eventually. Maybe not like literally fall apart, but you're going to realize, oh, I wish I would have gotten a better knife. I would rather have one of these than 4 of these. But the buck doesn't stop here. This isn't the most expensive knife in the world. So what makes you want to go from the $160 incredibly practical knife to the next category? Well, first off, you might want something a little bit more exotic than this just plain Jane G10. You know, it feels okay, but there's people that prefer something that is maybe more lightweight or has a better feel to it and or a better look, something like carbon fiber. There isn't a ton of options at that price point. I mean, sometimes you can get something more exotic, but usually you're looking at FRN or G10 at this price point. It's functional, not super flashy, not super high-end in terms of material for the handle. You're spending your money on the blade, you're not spending your money on the bling. So if you want the bling, if you want a better feel, if you want something, you know, made out of wood or Damascus or, you know, micarta or, you know, something a little bit more fancy than this, that might want you to start looking ahead to the next price category. You also might want something that's more personalized. You know, there's a couple different colors for the sprint runs, which, you know, you can't get those. You might be able to get future sprint runs, but in most cases, brand new, you're not going to get any of the sprint runs. You gotta get them when they come out. You've got the Blurple 110 steel. You've got the S30V. You've got the screw wear in the black, but it's all the same. You know, if you got buddies that have crew wear, or not crew wear, Spyderco knives, they're probably going to have a knife that's similar, if not exact same to you. Maybe you don't like that. Maybe you want to be special. You want to be unique. So that might make you look ahead. The other thing is you want your fit and finish to be top notch. Now this is significantly better than the $40 knife. Don't get me wrong. But this knife, this exact knife, came to me with a pretty weak D10. I had to bend it in place. And it works. It deploys a lot better than this one does, but it's still not as strong as my other luck of the draw, you know, M390 version, which is like the best knife for deployment ever. The D10 is perfect on this knife. Point is, they're not the same. You know, if every single Spyderco had the exact same D10, that'd be amazing, you know, but to get that level of quality control, they got to put, you know, more money into that. You know, is it a knife maker, like a single person crafting not just a tool, but also a work of art? They're going to make sure it works perfectly, right? So maybe I don't want to worry that I'm going to get the luck of the draw. You know, this doesn't happen very often with Spyderco. Probably happens more often with Benchmade, but you get the point. If I'm spending $400-$500 or more, my knife better work out of the box just like it's supposed to. All right, so let's look at a knife like that. Now, this is in the $450 to $500 range. I have a very long review on the Sebenza. It wasn't all negative, even though it ended up being that I would not recommend you buying a Sebenza in most cases. Unless you just like Sebenzas and that's your thing, then go ahead, collect them. But there's still things that I like about the knife, and there's still things that the Sebenza does at $450 that isn't on my PM2. I like this knife better, mind you, especially for the cost, but still, you're getting something for that extra money. What are you getting? Well, you get all the fancy parts, right? The materials, like this carbon fiber scale. This looks great, it feels great, it's super light, it's super practical. It's not cheap to do. You know, I got chamfering up the wazoo on this thing, right? There's very few sharp edges on this other than the one that's supposed to be. Okay, that's good, but it's not just, you know, carbon fiber. You also have really exotic stuff like I mentioned Timascus, Mokutai, mammoth tusk, exotic woods, you know, gold on some knives, you know, knife pocket jewelry. That's a thing. You're not going to find that on a Spyderco every day. Titanium, obviously. So, titanium. You've got world-class steels like the, oh, that was a, bam. All right. M390 on this guy. That's probably the best steel in the world for pocket knives, IMO. At that price point, you can expect to have the primo parts. We're getting to the good bits here. What else? Well, that fit and finish. This is something that the Sebenza is world renowned for. The precision on this knife is fantastic. The tolerances that they're working with here is amazing. Look how close that narrow gap is between the blade and the scales. Look at the centering. It is perfect. And even though I don't like the deployment of this particular knife, it's exactly what it was meant to be like. That Sebenza smooth, that hydraulic feel. It feels like it should. Okay, I'm paying for that. It's a lot of money. I have an excellent warranty at this price point. Usually, if you have a problem with your knife, you send it in. Maybe you did something wrong and they need to charge you to repair it, but at least you have the option for that. And when it breaks of its own accord, usually they will honor any kind of repairs for that kind of thing. So that's awesome. You're getting something for that investment. Now, not just durability, but longevity. When you have this level of like a proven track record of durability and premium materials, you know that that money that you invest in the knife either will buy you a lot of time with that knife or hold its value. If you want to buy the knife, you take good care of it, and then you feel like you don't need it anymore, you don't want it anymore, you could sell it and get a lot of your money back out of it. That's not necessarily going to be true with like a beater knife at this price point. If you're buying one like this guy, that's a sprint run with like fantastic premium parts, which is kind of like in between the $160 and the $400 range, this might actually go up in price as time goes on. But that's on a case-by-case basis, you know. Generally speaking, if you buy a user like this and you actually use it and you have a bunch of wear on it, you can't expect to get the same level of money out of it like you could with the Sebenzas or, you know, the Alamic stuff at that price point. The other thing you get for that extra money is really unique deployment options. Things like a front flipper, things like, you know, the access lock, things like the really fine-tuned CNC options like Grimsmo Norseman or the Rask or the Holt Bladeworks Spectre, things that it's a flipper, sure, and we've seen flippers before, but ones that are near perfection, that, you know, feel like there's no friction, drop shut, that like premium laser specific, finely tuned action. There's a lot of options out there for that kind of thing. And so spending all that extra money, you're getting something that is a little bit beyond just a normal tool. It's what is the best of the best? What's the best flipper out there? What's the best front flipper? What's the like cream of the crop? And how much does it cost for me to go get that? That turns from like a tool that you're buying into like a hobby. And so this is the part where going from a $160 knife to a $400 and up knife, you're kind of entering into a hobby. That's something you want to be careful of. If it's awesome, it's a fun hobby, don't get me wrong, but it's hard to buy something like this and just be satisfied with one. You get something that's nice and then you develop a taste for it, that hedonic adaptation, and then this is awesome, you know, but I'm used to it, so I want something new that is going to amaze me as much as I was when I got this new. And that's when thoughts start to creep in. Hello, I'm nicer than that, and I'm only $800. Yeah, but this is $500. I don't need you. Oh, but if you ever needed money, you could sell me. Yes, but not in a timely manner. I mean, it takes, effort to find somebody to buy you. You could always raffle me off on Reddit. Maybe take you a day or two at most. That's true. So... Okay, fine, I'll take you. And then pretty soon you're starting a YouTube channel and here you are. So that's it. Those are the differences between crappy Lucid design knives, your crappy Walmart designs, and your Safe Queen, pinnacle of your collection. That's hedonic adaptation right there. All right, see you guys next time.